Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in the Twin Cities, it's time for Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, this is going to be a good one. Tony Chiappetta is with us. Tony is with CHIPS. He's the president there. Tony, welcome.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about you and give everyone an introduction to CHIPS. How are you serving folks out there?
Sure, John. We're in technology. So CHIPS is a technology success provider. We've been around for more than 20 years now, and we're helping organizations secure their infrastructure, make sure it's stable, and ensure that they can continue to operate the way they mean to without the interference of hackers out there.
That's always helpful for sure. Since we pick up the paper and read about that every day. Tony, give us, before we get into the specific work you're doing, you and your team are doing with CHIPS, talk about your background, how your journey into this company.
Well, like I said, I founded it 20 years ago, but before that, my original career path was law enforcement up until I got married and my wife had other plans. So I went and got a business management degree, was in that world for 10 years. And with computers, really it was something that came natural to me. And when I found out there was a need to serve businesses in that area, I went and got certified, started working with an organization south of the cities and got some experience there, kind of bringing together customer service and business management systems, processes. Found it really had a knack for helping organizations improve their effectiveness via technology. And I started CHIPS to do just that, help people not just have technology, but actually get a noticeable and measurable return from it.
I'm curious about one piece of your background. How does your law enforcement background inform the way you handle your business and how you're able to, the mindset you bring to your business and your customers?
Well, consistency in technology is something that is sometimes hard to find. Mm-hmm. So bringing together, the regimen of following processes and protocols is kind of part of my background, my nature, and ensuring that we can follow and do things correctly. And I've also been in the past, called upon by organizations to consult them that they were being hacked, or whether it was people from afar or locally trying to compromise them from a cyber standpoint, and showing them how to secure their information as well as their physical premise, to avoid robbery or vandalism, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see how the process piece of that and the attention to detail is so important in your business, and how that, having that in your background, makes a lot of difference for your customers, certainly. So as I mentioned, we pick up the paper every day or look online. I don't guess too many people pick up the paper anymore, but we see these threats all the time, these actual hacks, and get emails that this is happening. Talk about what's changing, though, and how the threats are changing, and how that's different today than it was a few years ago.
Well, it's really escalated exponentially year after year after year, and something that started out just as a way to get kind of a low dollar amount payment for something that was an inconvenience has really turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry where these groups are working as if they're some kind of publicly traded company. They're having press releases and they're having, announcements of what they're doing. But the vulnerability side of it for the people listening is that if you've heard the term 0 day, which means it's a vulnerability, whether it's in the operating system or a program on the computer, the number of 0 days that have been identified and are actively being exploited here in 2021, it has exceeded the total of 2020 and 2019. So I guess what that means from a vulnerability standpoint is that a hacker now can simply, access the computer and inject malicious code into the machine without any user interaction. Where in the past, a lot of it, and it still is present today, but they were reliant upon some kind of user interaction. They trick people to click on something or open an attachment, or they do get some kind of insider to execute something intentionally, those kind of things. And now with all these 0 days that are left open and takes weeks, sometimes months to actually fix, they've got free access to the computers, and they can take full advantage of that.
So one of the things that I'm sure you hear this all the time, dealing with small, medium-sized businesses, is I'm too small to get hacked. So therefore, why do I need to worry, right? This happens to the big companies. Address that statement.
Yeah. So that's kind of a misnomer. The ones you see in the news are definitely huge, multi-million-dollar ransom requests and that kind of thing. But statistically, when you look at all the attacks, a new attack is happening every 11 seconds. And the majority of them are hitting the small businesses, businesses that have, typically they're not going after the 1 or 2 person business, but the ones that they know can pay a ransom. So those are businesses with 5, 10 employees and up. Most of them are hitting industry organizations that have less than 100 employees, make less than $10 million in revenue a year. So that's a lot of organizations out there that are in that small category, if you will. Small is kind of semi-relevant to who you're talking to and what their definition of small is. But from that regard, those businesses are getting hit on a regular basis. And again, it's kind of the low-hanging fruit, the ones that don't have quite as good a defenses. So it's super easy to go after them and put up a ransom demand. And at the same time, those ransoms now are $200,000, $250,000, and the cost impact of that, let alone the downtime, the bad PR and fines and all those things, typically are putting organizations out of business that have to go through that.
Maybe the way to put this is to think, for a layperson like me, is to think of it in terms of spam email. I mean, you can send out thousands and thousands, millions of spam emails, and then all you've got to worry about if you're a hacker is just a few that get hits, right? I mean, aren't the threats sent out the same way, whether through spam email or some other way?
Yeah, they are. And it's getting easier and easier to get into the mix. As I said, this is an industry, and they've groups out there have made it so that somebody that's not technology savvy can buy in as an affiliate for $50, and they can get the code, they can send it out via email or distribute it however they want, and they get a cut of the ransom that's paid to those organizations. It's kind of this commission format that they call ransomware as a service. So it's very prevalent, very easy for somebody to get in there. So it's not just these people in far off lands, China, that kind of thing. It could be the kid down the street that's bored and is looking to make some money. But it definitely is sent via spam, sent via websites. And we've seen it where they'll actually take legitimate ads out on legitimate websites. And when people go to visit those ads, they get the malicious content along with the ad.
Wow. What I'm hearing is multi-level marketing meets hacking. That's what I'm hearing here, Tony.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Tony Chiappetta with a lot of great news for us, folks. Tony is with Chips. No, Tony does have great news. And Tony, I want you to talk about some of the technology that you're delivering to customers that it's been around a while, but it's new to the business market.
Yeah, we've been blessed to meet a group of really smart individuals outside of DC who have been getting commissioned for more than 20 years to invent super specific solutions to the intelligence community, the U.S. military, those kind of places that have to be 100% secure and can't afford to suffer any kind of hacks or loss of information. And in 2019, they showed us this software technology that was rolled into production with the U.S. military in 2014. And it's super important for the business community to find out about this because, as I mentioned earlier, these 0 days that allow a hacker to take over the computer, inject software, they completely bypass all the traditional means of cybersecurity defense, which they have to detect the bad code and then they have to respond to it, right? Mm-hmm. And when you can't detect something, you can't respond. So everything that we've been led to believe, antivirus and the latest and greatest enterprise detect and respond and manage detect and respond, all these things are being bypassed because the hackers can change their signature, use these 0 days to get in without, any prevention, that kind of thing. And what this technology does, that again is used by the U.S. military, it actually just changes the way the computer works. So instead of allowing any action to be taken, whether it's directed by the user or a piece of software or maybe an outside attacker, now the computer only takes trusted actions. So as a user, you probably have your set of programs you use day to day, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, those kind of things. This technology has a bunch of patents in it, and with that has been proven to be 100% effective over these more than 7 years in use by the U.S. military and other agencies. But in that scenario, you go to open that spam message, it's got an attachment on it or it's got a link, and it calls up your Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. This technology will allow the trusted action, the opening of the software, to happen. But as soon as it tries to do something beyond that malicious action, lateral movement, it actually stops that because it knows Word and Excel is not supposed to do that kind of thing. And it's able to, only allow the actions the computer is supposed to take to happen, thus stopping everything outside of it, including these 0 day vulnerabilities that we just talked about.
And you say this technology was developed by the United States military. And why is this now just hitting the business market? I guess help me out on that.
So it was invented by an organization for the U.S. military, the Department of Defense, mm-hmm. and they commissioned them in 2012. They worked with Microsoft for 2 years and created this, tested it out, and rolled it into production. And it's kind of like GPS. It's a technology that was originally generated for the military, classified at one point. Nobody's supposed to know about it, but over time, it gets access and, people sign off to say, okay, let's start using it here. Let's start using it there. And then now it's available for, I'd say, general consumption. There are certain countries and types of organizations we're not allowed to put it into. But it is something that with, COVID hitting and the hackers, taking advantage of that. And, with the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, coming out in 2019 saying, hey, or 2020 rather, that zero trust is an actual thing. It's not a theory. Here's the federal government's been using it for more than 2 decades. This is what it looks like, not naming products, but here's what you should be looking for. They kind of, pulled back the curtain and allowed those kind of things to be made aware to the private sector. And, we're fortunate to be able to take this time tested product and start putting it into the organizations that need it.
Yeah. You mentioned something there I want to circle back on. Zero trust is not adequate. Talk about exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, so zero trust, up until this NIST special publication, most of the industry thought it was some kind of theory. It's something that, should work in theory, but not in practice, kind of a thing. And this organization had been inventing technology that, again, is 100% effective because it follows what's now called zero trust principles. It's more of a recent terminology, even, came after their progress and their inventions over the years. That's the kind of a class that this technology falls into. The kind of the bad thing now is, since the NIST publication, every organization out there has taken that zero trust phrase, that word, and used it as a buzzword in their marketing now. So it's super hard for a business consumer or somebody that's trying to learn about it to go out and find something that's zero trust. Everybody's saying they're zero trust when they don't actually adhere to all the principles, which you need to be if you're going to actually be 100% effective. So there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace, but I guess I would encourage people to look at the NIST special publication and understand it a bit better that way, and maybe even come to one of the webinars we're doing where we do a live demonstration of this technology and show why it's effective.
Now, one of the things you talked about there, Tony, in describing the technology, little phrase that stood out for me is 100% effective. 100% is a pretty high standard there. Talk about what makes it 100% effective.
Yeah, so there's key principles or pillars in the zero trust framework, and you have to adhere to all of them simultaneously to be 100% effective. And that's a trusted device can only take a trusted action via a trusted user. So if you think about general cybersecurity technology, the traditional means, you might have one means of authenticating a user, and you might have a different means of giving access control. You might have a different layer out there that allows whitelisting or some other application control. There might be something altogether that allows different devices, to ensure only certain computers can be on a network, that kind of a thing. So there's all these different layers and layers and layers of cybersecurity technology. But zero trust is this concept that if you can simultaneously take these key items and ensure that, for one, only the device that you want to have on the network is there, it's being used by a specific user, not just anybody in the organization, but a specific user. And then now that specific user can only take certain actions with that device. Now you've got everything kind of combed all the way down to small, very small subset of things that are trusted actions that they can take. And that's why it's 100% effective. And, over the years, like I said, this group has invented other things, not just software, but network control and remote access and all these different things that have been required by the federal government, that they take these principles and they build a specific use case. So this software doesn't stop everything. It doesn't stop the employee from picking up the phone and calling their bank to do a wire transfer. It doesn't stop them from handing out their password to somebody that asks for it. But it does stop, from a cyber standpoint, all the malicious software that would happen on their computer, whether that's, involuntary or intentional on the machine.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to make a statement that's really a question. I take it that it prevents those instances where employees are clicking on something they shouldn't be clicking on.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And maybe they're tricked into doing that. Maybe it's their job to click on and open attachments or go to websites and do things like that. Years ago, we got a call from a CPA, and not yet a customer of ours, but they called in a panic because the owner got an email from somebody that said, "Hey, I just moved to your area. I'm looking for a CPA. Attached is my information. Please review and let me know if this is something you can help with." And, obviously, what did that person do? That business owner said, "Hey, it's a new customer." They opened the attachment, and, a handful of minutes later, they found all of their data encrypted. So there's businesses out there that have to deal with attachments, and they have to be dealing with people that are sometimes, not their normal set of known customers. And, this technology allows them to open those attachments, go to websites, click on things without fearing that the computer is going to be compromised.
Tony Chiappetta is with us, folks. He's the president of CHIPS here in the Twin Cities area. So, Tony, talk about, I guess, if I'm a business hearing this and I'm hearing 100% effective and in the way that's perfectly logical, it seems to me. way that you describe this technology, what do I need? What is the difference between the MSP I may be working with now versus working with you and getting this technology?
Yeah, so we're able to work alongside, whether it's an MSP or an in-house IT group, that kind of thing. Like I said, this technology is not yet mainstream, so we've been asked by the inventors to help create awareness of it. We're doing webinars on at least a monthly basis, and we're kind of the head of the channel to help bring it into the private sector and make sure that it's available to the people that need it. So our group doesn't have to take over any other things. If somebody likes their managed service provider, they're in a contract, that kind of thing. Or, we had a high profile success story of working with a law enforcement agency that has in-house IT. Their team worked on trying to stop a malware from stealing information for more than 4 weeks. They gave up. They couldn't stop it. Our guys show up with this special military technology. They have them back to full functionality in 1 business day. And the IT director's like, what's the deal? Are we incompetent? And I'm like, no, we just have access to this technology that you guys don't. And, it's a matter of not trying to, we're not trying to threaten anybody's job or, get rid of them. We're just trying to safeguard the community and get this into the places that's needed.
Yeah. So thanks for clarifying that, because I can imagine some folks are hearing this and thinking, oh, I've got to make a huge technology switch. And that's not necessarily the case.
Right. And we've had other people that have come to us, after the fact. They've been compromised a couple months before, and they're like, hey, we want to buy more detect and respond solutions, manage detect and respond, or the latest, enterprise detect and respond, all these different things that, they're told, hey, you just got to keep buying more and more layers. When the truth is going back to the 0-day concept, your detect and respond products can't stop a 0-day, because by definition, there is no way of detecting it. There's no way of stopping something you can't detect. And, so in that sense, you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, which leads to more compromise, where we can offer an alternate, methodology, solution, again, that's been proven to be 100% effective via the U.S. military and other intelligence organizations out there. So, we're able to offer something different instead of continuing to do the same thing over and over.
Right. One of the things you mentioned there in that example of the law enforcement agency with the malware problem. So what you're saying is that you can insert this technology in the middle of a problem that a client may be having and really stop it cold.
Yep, that was part of the reason why it became such a high profile. Is most of these installations that were done prior to this were done in a non-hostile environment, but with the industries or the departments that are being protected with this technology, that was part of the criteria for the inventors, is assume it's hostile. So when we took the software and put it in there, the machines that were actively infected and were being compromised instantly could not continue to do that. They were trying to persist in memory, but all of their actions were stopped. And we were able to get them out of memory, identify based on their activity what kind of malware they were, because it wasn't necessarily a common malware, it was a customized one. But we were able to understand what it was doing and then clean that up and close the back doors and that kind of thing. But as long as it's got this protection on it, it can't take an untrusted action. So it's completely secure. And this, the interesting thing with this is that it doesn't have to be the latest and greatest Windows 10, Windows 11 type computer. This will actually protect all the way back to Windows XP. So if you're in a scenario where you've got some legacy software, maybe you're in manufacturing and it's driving a big piece of equipment, or you're in healthcare and it's an MRI machine that's, maybe 10 years old and you don't want to get rid of it, those kind of things. This is the perfect solution to keep all the software exactly the way it is and just make sure it can't be compromised from a cyber perspective.
Tony Chiappetta is with us, folks. He's the president of CHIPS. One of the things, Tony, that strikes me is that I've interviewed a whole lot of technology firms like yours and that talk about preventing disaster, preventing ransomware, hacking, what have you, which is more of a negative thing. I don't mean that negatively, but it's more of a negative action, right? One of the things you talk about in your the way you talk about your firm is you're a technology success provider. I love that phrase. Talk about what that means for you and your customers, how you define technology success.
Yeah, we were really, I guess, in front of the curve, if you will, with the whole managed services adoption. We're the second company in Minnesota to buy into that technology in 2005 and pioneered the concept of managed antivirus and managed backup and kind of bringing that to market. And, with that, we found that our customers were relying on the technology and, how do we make sure that they never have an emergency, that kind of thing. So in 2012, through that kind of endeavor of, bringing the best level of service to our clients as possible, we came up with a new way of conducting business that's not reactive. We transformed the company in 2013. And now, for those fully managed clients, it's reactive is only about 5% of what we do. And, so what do you do the rest of the time? Well, we've got a regimented, systematic process of managing infrastructure that helps eliminate issues. Our clients only have on average about, 5 or 6 minutes of reactive service needs a month, which means the rest of the time they're focused on, why they were hired, what they're supposed to be doing for their clients. And, from a business owner leadership perspective, they're not fighting fires anymore. They're not having to call IT for emergencies, all these different things. So we really spend a lot of time understanding what they're trying to do and how they're trying to get there, and then help to open that pathway to success, whether that's some kind of technology implementation or, maybe it's, bringing some other people to the table, whether, security, physical security. We had a client that was expanding rapidly this year and needed new introductions to bankers in the area. We were able to facilitate that. It's whatever our clients need to be successful in their organization, not just, here's a piece of technology we can sell you. It's helping them be as successful as possible.
Wow. Great words from Tony Chiappetta, the president of CHIPS, a technology success provider. I love that, Tony. Well, Tony, this has been great, and what great information you've shared, and hope, I think, really, right, for small and medium-sized businesses are just tired of getting subjected to the constant barrage of attacks. So let's get to the most important question, which is for those that have heard something that makes them want to get in touch with you and learn more, how they can do that.
Well, they can definitely reach out to me. Probably the first place to start I would recommend is our website that explains this technology we've been talking about the entire time. It's www.prevent-ransomware.com. And that will give you some information about the technology. But maybe more importantly, there's a link in there to sign up for our demos we're having on a regular basis. Because I've been in the industry for, again, more than 20 years. And when we first heard about this, super skeptical, right? Because what's 100% effective? How can this be possible? Mm-hmm. All those kind of questions that come up, we've been trained to be skeptical on anything that, has that kind of a track record. Well, when we saw this in 2019, we were totally blown away. We did our independent testing, and putting it in production is, kind of goes back to the old adage of seeing is believing, right? So we're helping other people find out, learn about it, and see it in action. See how it stops malware that's taken down, entire country health services systems and the power grid in the Ukraine, as well as, again, customer malware that every detect and respond product out there can't detect, can't stop. So start there, join us for a webinar, but you can also reach out to me directly, from there. I don't know, do you want me to give my phone number at this time, or
whatever you wish, whatever the best avenue is for folks?
Yeah. My direct dial is 651-280-4701. can reach out to me. Always happy to have a conversation and see if this might be the right solution for you.
Tony Chiappetta, folks, president of CHIPS. Tony, this has been great, very informative. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this information with the audience.
Thanks so much, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, folks, just a quick reminder, if you like the kind of guests that you hear on Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio, I would love it if you would share the show and share it with those that you think would be interested, and subscribe. That's not about me or Business RadioX. It's about our great guests and the services that they provide that are so essential for businesses and consumers out there. So if you could help great business leaders like Tony in that regard, I would appreciate that. So for my guest, Tony Chiappetta, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio.